Hey there, it's your girl Awad Jaber here, together with the one and only Sanchez. We welcome you to another episode of United Goal. Today we want to talk about Mount. Yeah, Mount is our first and the only signing so far this summer for Manchester United, and there are a lot that we have to discuss about Mount. Starting with the Mount signing, it went so fast, like so many people doubted it, but it happened so fast and so quickly. Yeah, so again, after the signing, another surprise that came through that so many United fans didn't see it coming, me included, is Mount being given jersey number 7. As we all know, if you are a Manchester United fan, you know what it takes and what it means, especially for a young new signing to be given jersey number 7. So before we talk about that, before we go deep into details, Sanchez, say something.
Hi guys, happy to be here once more in the United Goal channel. We are here to talk about Mason Mount. Yeah, Mason Mount. If Mason Mount not being a Manchester United player is not surprising at all for fans and supporters like myself, him being given that number 7 jersey is something mind-blowing for most of us, all I believe. So yeah, we are here to touch on that, what that means for Mount himself, what that means for the team, what that means for the club, and what that means for the supporters. What that means for the supporters, I know firsthand, is the number 7 jersey is a number that we have held up so highly. We hold it in the highest regards, and we'll touch on that amongst many other components that filters in with this decision of Mount being handed that number 7 jersey. So yeah, let me take it back to my dear here to take us through it.
Okay, from the look of things, okay, Sanchez, from the look of things, it seems like, okay, I don't want to say like that Ten Hag somehow is building his team around Mount because there are a lot of questions out there. Why number 7? Why jersey number 7? This is a young new signing, which I don't know, we've not highlighted his performance even in his previous team, Chelsea. Last season, his records were not that okay. Okay, we understand that Chelsea were not good last season. They're having issues here and there. But what did warrant Mount to be given jersey number 7? We know if you are a Manchester United fan, you know what it takes. This jersey number 7 is something that players should transition into.
Well, if you're saying players should transition into, well, it's not like we haven't in the past bought players and they walked right into that now jersey number. Are you saying that? Really? We have signed players in the past. I remember Memphis is one a young player who was not established in Europe, who had just broke out in his first season in the Netherlands, a very inferior league compared to the Premier League, and we entrusted him with that jersey number. So it's not something out of the blue. We have done it before. Angel Di Maria, who of course was a household name in Europe, of course, I think that's why there was no much quarrel when he was given that number, which boils back to Mount. I think Mount is not a player yet whom, when you're talking about world superstars, he's not at that level, but he's a player that we all have had many good raves about from, well, at his time at Chelsea, from the managers that have coached him, from the articles we've read as supporters. It's always been positive in terms of what Mount brings to his team. But in that aspect of him being a superstar who commands being given a huge responsibility in terms of, wearing that jersey, for those who are not quite catching what you're talking on here, I think let me put it back to you and explain to them what this jersey means, both past, present, and the coming future. So hopefully for Mount's future, it's going to be best in terms of him actually proving the doubters such as myself wrong and him having an explosive career at Man United. But the fears we have over this, why is it such a big talking point? Most clubs don't have this as talking points, I'm sure. If let's say, for example, Declan Rice has been signed by Arsenal and he was given the number 14 shirt, I don't think it will make such a big story. But for us, that number 7 jersey is it's kind of a legacy number. So why is it then? I think you can walk us through.
Okay, in the recent past, I think this is the main reason why I said like United fans and me being one of them, I feel like jersey number 7, players should transition into it, and that's why so many people, when Mount was announced that he will be donning jersey number 7, so many people are disappointed, and this is because so many of us expected Garnacho to be given jersey number 7, but again, we know the responsibilities and the pressure that comes with jersey number 7. Okay, when I say that a player should transition into it, this is what I meant, because in the past, we've not had some good happenings with the players who are given jersey number 7 past Cristiano Ronaldo. You've mentioned Memphis, we know how it ended. You've mentioned Di Maria, we know how it ended. Cavani, okay, I know how it ended. Okay, I know how it ended. Cavani was given jersey number 7. He did do okay, if not for age factor and inconsistency, injuries. And at that, I think the age factor affected Cavani somehow, but he did try his best because at that age, obvious, if you're a player of that age, at that age, you lose some of your tools. You can never be that okay to some. Though to some, they perform even past 30. You can see a good example with Cristiano and Messi. So that's it. There's a lot of discussions going around, but before we go to that, we just have to give a good distinction between there is Cristiano Ronaldo in between. There's some club legends that were jersey number 7 and they performed. They did their best, and there are people who, when you read the history of Manchester United, you'll get to know who are they. These are George Best, Brian Robson, Eric Cantona. Then there is David Beckham. Then after Beckham, now we have Cristiano, which I mentioned to be in the middle because past Cristiano, we've not seen that star. We've not seen what it takes to have jersey number 7. We've not seen people delivering after. We've not seen people perform after being given the task that comes with jersey number 7. Okay, so just in brief, Sanchez, you can break down, you can shed more lights about the legends that I've mentioned. Before now, we cross this other side as we narrow down to Mount, which is the topic of our discussion.
For me, it speaks volume. If he was asked that number 7 is available, will you like to have it? Mount is English. So if anything, he's very much aware of the prestige and traditions that goes with being a Manchester United player. So I'm sure he knows what he has walked into. So that speaks volume. The mad balls he has on him, I think that's massive. So I respect him for that. But he's walking on thin ice now because the level of expectations he is going to, it's risen. Like I said, when he signed, I thought he's going to be a rotational player to Eriksen. So this means Eriksen, I'm not expecting him to be in the first 11. But we dial it from the pitch and we walk into the legacy aspect, like you've touched on, the legends that have done that number. We're talking of Best back in the 80s, to Robson in the late 80s, to Cantona in the late 90s, to Beckham in the early 2000s. Then, of course, CR7, who really solidified how great that number is. So yeah. For me, who's the best number 7 that has done that now? That done the red jersey of Man United? For me, it has to be, I'll say controversially, Cantona. Yes, not statistically, but the whole aura of the guy. I think he just, I don't know. It was massive. I was a young kid at that time, but growing up on that, for me, it just brings memories and memories. Cantona, for me, with his collar up, the guy just oozed class. He oozed character. He oozed something. Football. Yes, these days it's more to do with stats, how many goals, how many assists. It's more programmed. But back in the days, I think you'll get me those OGs that really follow football. Sometimes football it doesn't have nothing to do with numbers. Sometimes it has to do with character. Sometimes it has to do with style, panache. And this is something for me, Cristiano Ronaldo, as much as for me, I do believe he is most people's favorite number 7. But I think of it, Cantona influenced the whole culture around that jersey. And I think Beckham even touched on it when he took over. He felt the weight of it because he inherited it from Cantona. And then you touch on the other legends as well, the Robsons, the best. So this is what Mount is walking into. He's walking into a number, a jersey which holds so much expectations because you see the individual players that how they've performed. These are all players that have taken United to league titles, Champions Leagues, have won major individual honors. In the case of Ronaldo, even Best was a Ballon d'Or winner, mind you. Ronaldo has won the Ballon d'Or. Michael Owen, who's a new school, probably not quite, but he's retired, he's also a legend, you'd say, walked into having played for an enemy in Liverpool, and we trusted him with that number. So it's a case of, it's an iconic shirt number. That's why it's making a lot of noise. That's why it's causing a lot of distress. Probably for those like my dear who thinks that Garnacho would have been more deserving. And I remember I actually touched on that and I told those that get to listen, I don't think Garnacho would be entrusted with that number, because Garnacho is not yet first team. As much as he had a breakthrough season last season, he's not in the first team. You're still expecting Rashford to start from the left, so that automatically means Garnacho is going to be starting from the bench again this season. So there's no way you can have a number 7 on the bench. That's why it points towards, again, Mount being given that number means he's going to be a main fixture in that first 11, which is something I didn't see. And if it's something I didn't see, then that means there's something Ten Hag sees in Mount that most of us haven't seen yet. And like from the legends that I've touched on, Ronaldo being the most recent one that most of us know, and when he left, Ronaldo leaving that number vacant, it stayed vacant. Michael Owen inherited it. Did Michael Owen did anything significant? Does anyone remember Michael Owen's reign at Man United? Not many. The only thing I remember Michael Owen for is scoring that late winner against Man City in the Manchester Derby back in 2009 to 10 season. Other than that, no. After Owen, Angel Di Maria came in. Angel Di Maria, for me, well, if I'm to dial it back, it's actually before Di Maria, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Antonio Valencia took that jersey. But it was more experimental, I feel. After a worthy season, on the back of a fantastic individual performance, I think it was more of an honorary thing, him being given that number, some sort of an upgrade. But he never quite felt comfortable with it because, again, the mystiqueness that it comes, the expectation that it comes, his form deterred and it dropped. And he blamed it on the number 7. So that shows you the weight, the power, the pull, that this number has. So after which it remained vacant for a while. We signed Di Maria. I was excited when Di Maria came on the back of a fantastic career at Real Madrid. He was coming to Man United having helped Real Madrid win their La Decima Champions League title. So he wasn't coming in as a player winding down his career or having a track record of injuries like Michael Owen. He was coming in with the sky being the ceiling. And we still hear of Di Maria until this very day. So we had hoped to still hear of Di Maria being a Manchester United player, but it didn't pan out the way we had hoped. Why? Expectations again. He didn't meet this. He came in, he showed his talent individually, but didn't fit the team. As a character off it, again, wasn't up to it. Like I say, I point back to Cantona. He had the personality to live that lifestyle of a Manchester United legend, but Di Maria didn't have it. He was shook. He packed his bag, went to Paris. Number 7, empty. Who comes to fill it? Memphis Depay, which kind of mirrors Mount in a way, because Memphis Depay is a young player, was a young player like Mount is a young player now. Coming from the Dutch league, was scoring goals for fun, assisting for fun, went to the World Cup, had a decent World Cup, was one of the players nominated for the young best player of the year in that tournament. Depay coming in, again, set a lot of fans excited, I myself being one. I thought, yeah, Depay is the new Ronaldo. How wrong were we? He didn't come in with the discipline of the pitch. He didn't come in with the consistency as well, and he was overwhelmed with again, Man United again transitioning from Ferguson with all was going on. It was never a habitat to nurture such a talent anyway, so it went downhill again. So from Memphis, we kind of again looking to find a replacement worthy enough to carry that jersey. Cavani came. Cavani, again, we all knew it was a short-term thing, and we got the most needed impact because Cavani fired us into the top 4, and it was not a flop. But the thing we got an old Cavani. We didn't get a Cavani in his prime. We didn't get a young Cavani who will lead the line for 3-4 years. We knew we were getting a Cavani that the most he would give us was 2 years, if best 3, but he only gave us 1. So again, kind of difficult to judge Cavani on how he ranks, but again, insignificant. Didn't live up to the expectations that comes with it. Unfortunately, I was forgetting another player that should have come before Edison. His name is Mr. Alexis Sanchez, if you can remember him. I was not remembering him at all, but something just, it came into my head. We have to speak on him, right? Because, yeah, he's part of the story. Came in from Arsenal, expectation massive. But again, I don't even need to say what happened, really. We all know. The piano thing. Alexis was nothing short but disappointing, I think, in United, it's fair to say. There are many reasons as to why we can put that down to, whether it being maybe we kind of made him lazy and entitled and privileged because we put him on huge amounts of wages, or you could say it was because Jose Mourinho was just not getting the best out of the players, especially the attacking players, and that's why Alexis Sanchez dipped. But, well, it all comes down to those are excuses because it never went the way we hoped it would. So we don't really need to touch much on that. Where is he now, Sanchez, by the way? Yeah, Alexis Sanchez. If I'm not forgotten, I think you can remind us in the comment. But I think Sanchez, is in France, if I'm not mistaken, in Marseille. But you can, if not Saudi Arabia, I think he should be in Saudi Arabia because he's a money monger. Maybe.
He's there for the money.
Yes. Okay. So basically, that number 7 shirt, as I've said, is a mysterious number and a huge amount of responsibility given from the coach to a player that dons that number. So is Mount up to task? Will he live up to the expectations? Will he meet these expectations? It's exciting, but it's frightening if you're Mount. It's exciting if you're the fans. But like I say, we hope for the best.
Okay, that was a nice breakdown. Thank you, Sanchez. Okay, to those who are asking themselves, like, where's the conversation heading to? Like, okay, jersey number 7, this okay. So many people have worn this jersey, and Sanchez has given you guys the breakdown briefly, but I think that's enough. And again, it comes with pressure because this one jersey that I think Sanchez has mentioned, Valencia returning, shifting from number 25, he took number 7. He felt like there's something which was not right. I don't know. He came with this narration of bad luck being on that jersey, and he returned it and shifted back to his number 25 jersey. And again, if okay, I was a young girl during those days. I didn't witness the likes of Roy Keane play, but I do read about football. So I think there's this documentary that I watched that did mention that Ferguson at some point hinted on giving Roy Keane jersey number 7, but he somehow turned it down, and that saw David Beckham was given that jersey, which it ended up well. He did play and he did achieve to the task that that jersey come with, and that's why we are today having this discussion here. Because now this thing narrows down to a young English boy who is now up to the task, is now taking over, and the whole world is watching. Because apart from being signed as Manchester United fan, there's that pressure that comes with playing for Manchester United. And then now another pressure on top of that, being given iconic jersey number 7. So what do you think?
Yeah, so yeah, like you've said, we've touched on a lot to do with the number 7, but it's not the number 7 who's going to be playing. Yeah, it's Mount himself that is going to be playing, and I think let's touch on why is it we think he's been given this number. You know, from a point of view of he is the first midfielder, central midfielder that is, because during the days we classify wingers, which Ronaldo fell under. I'd like to pose a question to you, the viewers, in the comment section. You can comment, of course. Remember to like, remember to share, and also remember to subscribe. We very much appreciate. And I'd like to pose a question to you guys. Do you think Mount is a character that can really, really, really live up to the expectations, like we've touched on? The number 7 jersey brings with it. You know, does he have the character? We've had mad rave on him from his Chelsea days, but we all know Man United is a different bottle of. The only thing I'd say, maybe in a positive note, us signing Chelsea players has always panned out, as not always, but most often than not, has panned out very well for us. Juan Mata, is one name that I can't forget. If I'm forgetting one or two others, maybe. But I think Nemanja Matic did well for us coming from Chelsea. Generally, Chelsea players transitioning from Chelsea to Man United hasn't been a tragedy, but we're not just looking for the good here. We're looking for the legendary type of performance from Mount. So do you think he has it in him to deliver? That will be interesting to see whether you fans do believe it or not. I, for one, I will say all right here before I give it to you to answer. I, for one, will say yes. Why? One man, Ten Hag. I think because of him. I think Ten Hag will bring out the very best in Mount. I think this is just pure, brilliant man management, I think, from him. It's not coincidence that Mount just comes in and he's already given the number 7. So this has been planned out, if anything. Where he plays, it's not of a concern. If he plays well, that will be very much for our pleasure. We want him to do well. Where he'll do where in, that's not our problem. That's up to Ten Hag and Mount himself to figure out. So let's just wait and see. But for me, I think I'd say I have faith. I have faith in Ten Hag to bring out the best in Mount. That's what I can say. Let's see.
Okay, Sanchez. Personally, I think Mount will mount to the task. Okay, from being the first midfielder to don that jersey, to his transfer fee, to considering how fast his transfer was, and now to having that jersey number 7. I believe those are factors to consider. And to whoever is watching this video, kindly leave your comment. Let's see. Let's interact. Tell us what you think about this. Because personally, I'm positive. We cannot once, even if you are against a certain player signing for your team, even if you didn't like them, but once he's here, he is one of our own. All we can do is to support, pray, and wish him all the best. I believe Mount will mount to the task. Yep. Thank you again for being with us. And let's meet again in the next episode of United Goal as usual. Yep. Have a good night.